Good. A pretty good batch of rain moving from Chattanooga back to Anniston, maybe approaching Atlanta. Just in time for the rush hour home. Isn't that delightful? More rain around Nashville. More rain moving in through around Hamilton, Alabama, as well as moving all the way back down into Jackson, Mississippi. That'll continue to lift on off towards the east. And as we look at our current map, there's a lot of rain associated with that storm system still parked in the southeast, while high pressure makes delightful weather. Cool temperatures, low dew points, dry humidity values up in the northeast, northern plains, and throughout the Rockies. Wonder what's going to be happening with all this mess. With details, here's Rich.
Oh, I guess a matter of point of view there. All this mess, that mess is some nice mess out there as it's coming on down. And remember Jackie Gleason, you always used to say, oh, how sweet it is. Something like that anyhow. Well, we do have the rain. It's coming on down. I was outside today for lunch. I got wet during lunch hour, and you know what? I didn't mind because it's been like the second time in a month and a half that it's rained areas of the southeast. Tomorrow morning, more showers. So for you around Atlanta, showers and storms today. Probably around the morning rush hour, you'll see some all the way up to Charlotte, back up to the Tidewater or to Richmond. And look at this, the big bad hurricane coming on into Baja, and there's a very good chance that this is going to enter the United States as a tropical storm. So look for some breezy conditions into southwestern Arizona, southeastern California. But the big deal, of course, is going to be associated with flash flooding rains. And we could be looking at a whole year's worth of rain in just one day when you have tropical moisture this type. Rainfall amounts focusing on areas of the east from New Orleans back over to Chattanooga. Dennis showed most of the rain heading out across North Carolina, and it is going to be cool tonight into the 30s, into the 40s too. The southeast still holding on to some tropical temps, and into the southwest tomorrow we're looking, or I should say today, still some 100-degree readings, but tomorrow we will start finding temperatures which will be knocked down a little bit. It won't see any of those 100s out there because we'll see some clouds. We'll also see quite a bit of rain as we brace for the hurricane coming into Baja.
It looks like a lot of rain.
And yeah, we got the red spots showing up. It's like we have to get that. Anyhow, around Nashville all the way down to Birmingham, Jackson, I-55 across 20, a rather wet drive, and oh boy, this looks ugly. More storms around Atlanta. If you're traveling 285, some showers and thunderstorms, and more rain heading toward
mutual respect and cooperation. That's when something truly special happens. New Jersey, many faces, one family.
1-8866. Sorry, no CODs. This is your local forecast, weather information you can plan on, because we show it on the 8s of every hour. Local on the 8s on the Weather Channel.
And it's time now.
Weather Scope. The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, today we're seeing something in the tropics that even those of us who have been around for a long time haven't seen very often. We have a full hurricane now, top winds 85 miles an hour. It's within 500 miles of the U.S. border and moving straight toward the north. Now, I hasten to say it's not going to be a hurricane. We're quite sure when it gets to the United States, but it may be a tropical storm, so we have to watch that. In any case, the thing that we're the most concerned about, even in the Baja and the United States, is extremely heavy rain associated with this system. And even if it weakens a whole lot, we can still have heavy rain. So we have to watch that. The latest advisory places the 24 point north, 114.9 west, and that's 210 miles south of Punta Eugenia on the Baja Peninsula, the point right there, and moving toward the north at 13 miles an hour, just a little bit faster than it was moving earlier. Estimated pressure 29.82 or 976 millibars. As you might expect from where it is, we have a host of warnings up. These are hurricane warnings along both sides of the Baja Peninsula, and where you see the orange down here, also on both sides of the peninsula. Notice it doesn't extend down to Cabo San Lucas, though. Those are tropical storm warnings, and the yellow here is a tropical storm watch, and that goes all the way up to Tijuana, Mexico. We haven't seen that very often either. We still have out flood warnings. That's for high surf and tides that have already been generated by this hurricane. Looking at the satellite picture, we are quite impressed that it's able to hold together as well as it has. It certainly hasn't deteriorated any during the day. It's just as well organized, if not a little bit better than it was early this morning, although the top winds have remained steady. And as we look at the infrared picture, you can see we've had some deep red clouds indicating some very high cold tops wrapping around this very well-defined center, which is moving towards the north now at 13 miles per hour. We thought we'd talk to you a little bit about the sea surface temperatures because these are really playing a role here. You see the coast of Mexico, there's the southern tip of Baja, and the hurricane right about there. See that blue down there? That's actually the track of the last two hurricanes, including Nora, Linda and Nora. And when you have a hurricane, you have upwelling water, particularly one that stays stationary as Nora did. And where you see the blues here, we have temperatures that are up to 5 degrees or so below normal. But notice now the hurricane is about to encounter an area where the temperatures are actually above normal. So, as long as it stays offshore, and we think it's going to do that overnight and into tomorrow, we don't really expect to see it weaken. Now, looking at the water vapor, that tells us a lot about what's going on. This trough is dug down in here, and the east winds to the east of the trough have literally lifted this up now and continues to move it up towards the north. It is likely to begin to move up there at an even faster rate. Now, on our radar here, we can just begin to see showers getting into the United States, quite heavy ones here off California, and now we have a movement across the Baja into southern Arizona. That rainfall is going to be increasing, and areas that don't normally get a lot of rain are going to get quite a bit out of this. So that could be the major problem. That's what we the most fear in the United States, is rainfall-induced flooding from this system. Turning now to the Atlantic side, front moving into the western Gulf, so we don't have to worry about any development there. But we do have an area down here in the western Caribbean Sea that does have potential for development. We think we have a broad, ill-defined low pressure somewhere off the coast of Nicaragua, and the next day or so that has some potential for development. Now, we do expect it to move basically toward the northwest, toward western Cuba or the Yucatan Channel, and eventually head in toward the southern Florida. At the very least, we think it's going to enhance the rainfall for South Florida eventually. Out in the Atlantic, east of the islands, we have some clusters of clouds, but we still have strong upper-level westerly winds there that would preclude any development. We do have a massive area, though, of showers that have just moved off the African coast about 10 degrees south. We are getting, or 10 degrees north of the equator, we are getting a little ridging there, so that might have some possibility, but we think it will encounter hostile winds before it gets across the ocean. A couple of weak systems in the Pacific. We have Fritz, which is really a typhoon moving into Vietnam, Ella, which was a storm, now moving out, and Ginger moving harmlessly out here in the Central Pacific. That's the tropics. Back to Mike.
Thanks a lot, John. As Hurricane Nora continues heading toward the U.S., stay with us for the latest updates. More on the storm coming up on WeatherScope after your local forecast.
WeatherScope.
Well, Hurricane Nora is on a track that will take it into the desert southwest, drenching the usually dry region with potentially flooding rains. Hello, I'm Sharon Resulton. Rain has also been soaking much of the southeast, prompting some flood concerns for some of you. We're going to bring you up to date on that, but first, the hurricane story from Jeff Morrow in the Forecast Center.
Thanks a lot, Sharon. Indeed, we have another hurricane in the East Pacific. Of course, we were talking about a very powerful hurricane just about 2 weeks or so ago. But now we have, that one moved away, but now we have one that it looks like is going to be making landfall along the Baja of California, and eventually will be moving, maybe even as a tropical storm, into parts of the southwest U.S. Let's give you the latest, and this brand new, updated within the last half hour on Hurricane Nora, 25.7 north, 114.8 west, centering this hurricane about 140 miles south of Punta Eugenia, Mexico. Winds at 85 miles an hour, moving north, due north now at 15, and that is a little bit of an increase in forward speed. Here are the watches and warnings. The hurricane warnings up from Punta Santo Tomas down to Bahia Bayenos, and also on the corresponding same latitudes on the eastern side of the Baja in the Gulf of California. And from there on south, the orange shading you see there, those are tropical storm warnings, but that does not include Cabo San Lucas. It looks like the worst is now over for the southern tip of the Baja. Let's show you, though, how bad it was. These shots taken near La Paz. You can see the heavy surf coming in. People in the resort area of La Paz are still sandbagging, but it does look like the worst may be passing by. There's still some running water in the streets, and a lot of the tuna fishing fleet is headed into port, and tourists have headed home out of the resort town of Cabo San Lucas, where several beachfront homes have been destroyed. Some pretty high surf throughout that area. But what we're really concerned about here, at least in the lower 48, is where this hurricane, and maybe when it weakens, tropical storm is going to be headed. One of the areas that we think is probably going to be affected is Yuma, Arizona. And joining me now from Yuma is Jim Cantori. Jim, you probably never thought you'd cover a hurricane from Yuma.
No, I really didn't, Jeff, and even more so, I never thought I'd cover a hurricane in an area that gets typically in a year less than 3 inches of rainfall. But this is big news here. We've been here an hour and 15 minutes, and we've already seen a lot of folks sandbagging. I'm at the historic prison, by the way, and you can see right over my shoulder California. That's California, right across the Colorado River, and we're very, very close to the new park that they're building here downtown, which they're very proud of. Neither of these places is any kind of a threat of flooding, but some are. I want to show you the newspaper here. As I came in, I did have a chance to kind of get one of these this afternoon. Check this out, the Yuma Daily Sun. Hang on. They're talking about the old Nora coming in here later on tonight, perhaps tomorrow, making, I guess, the eye coming overhead perhaps tomorrow afternoon, but they show you what it did to the Baja during Nora's pass. Also talk about the schools closed for preparation for Hurricane Nora tomorrow. So schools here in the Yuma area will be closed. A lot of folks here recall actually what was a tropical storm, Kathleen, which was back in 1976. Now that caught a lot of folks off guard. It was during an El Nino year, but it did catch a lot of folks off guard. It did produce some heavier rain. They even had a lot of problems with the winds anywhere from 50 to 70 miles an hour. And Jeff, what's interesting around here is they have a lot of problems with termites on the power poles. So even winds, believe it or not, of 30 to 40 miles an hour can knock over the power poles around here. So that's a big concern.
That is an interesting fact, Jim.
Yeah.
Something you really wouldn't think of.
I'm finding out some tidbits here.
I guess so. And that rain's not far behind, Jim, so you better have your rain slicker ready. And we'll be getting back to Jim before too long. Again, that's Jim Cantori from Yuma, Arizona. Let's show you the satellite picture and show you exactly where Nora is. This is a very highly detailed satellite picture. This is the Baja of California right here. I'm outlining it for you. And of course, here is the center of the circulation, the eye of Nora, heading in a due northerly direction. And again, it looks like it's going to be passing very close to the tip of Bahia Eugenia, again, right where I have circled there, and then continue on north from there, and then make landfall a little bit farther up. That is where some of the heavier downpours are. And again, those are going to be raking over the central Baja. Jim is right up here in Yuma, and we think that that is where most of this hurricane's moisture is going to be headed. As a matter of fact, that's where there are flood watches out. Now, most of these start tomorrow in southeast California, southwest Arizona. Also, some high wind watches up for later on tomorrow and on into tomorrow night for southwest Arizona as well. Again, in anticipation of this maybe coming in, not as a hurricane, at least into Arizona, but as a tropical storm, which would be almost unprecedented. We'll keep you updated on the
lighter area in here is actually cooler water caused by the churning up of the ocean by first Hurricane Linda and then Hurricane Nora. Also, in terms of the path of motion, if the hurricane were to be coming around like that, it would be over cooler water for a longer period of time. The fact that it's hugging the coast in here means that it really has not had much of an opportunity to weaken.
All right, let's switch sources now. I want to show a radar here.
The weather scope.
Hurricane Nora on a track that will take it into the desert southwest, and it's picking up a little speed. It's drenching the usually dry region with potentially flooding rains. Hi everyone, I'm Warren Madden. Rain also soaking much of the southeast this evening, and that's prompting flood concerns for some areas. We'll bring you up to date on that, plus your complete forecast. But first, let's get the latest on the story with Hurricane Nora from Jeff Morrow, who's standing by in the forecast center.
Yet another hurricane in the East Pacific. It's been a very active year there, where on the other side of the Isthmus of Panama, we're talking about a very tranquil hurricane season, at least so far in the Atlantic. But let's go ahead and give you the latest on Hurricane Nora. 8 p.m. advisory Pacific Daylight Time from the Hurricane Center, 26.5 north, 114.8 west, and the winds at 85 miles an hour. It's been pretty much steady state here, although there are some signs, as we'll see this on the satellite shot in a couple of minutes here, that it may be weakening just a little bit. Moving north at 17, so the forward speed definitely has picked up. And I would say, looking at the latest satellite imagery, we may be within about 3, 4, at the most 5 hours of landfall there along parts of Baja California. Here are the latest hurricane warnings, which are out from Punta Santo Tomas down to Bahia Bayeños, and then on the Gulf of California side, all the way down to Santa Rosalia. So again, anywhere farther south from there where you see the orange shading, even including the La Paz area, those are tropical storm warnings. And the yellow shading there up toward Tijuana and the U.S. border, that is a tropical storm watch, just in case some of these stronger winds get that far to the north. But the Baja's already been hit hard. There you can see some of the heavy swells coming in west of La Paz on the Pacific Ocean side. Folks were out trying to sandbag get some sand up to protect the property and life, but you can see a lot of water in the streets, a lot of tree damage, and evidently some beach houses, several beach homes in the Cabo San Lucas area have been destroyed. That's what happened in Baja California, and will still be going on in the central Baja tonight into early tomorrow. But eventually, as we head on through later tomorrow, what's ever left here of this hurricane, maybe still as a tropical storm, could head up into the southwest U.S. Joining us now from Yuma, Arizona, to talk about just that fact is Jim Cantore. And Jim, as we look back over history, back in 1976, there was a tropical storm, Kathleen, that came into that area and did a lot of damage.
Yeah, Kathleen, of course, once was a hurricane back in '76. The big difference is, with this one, Jeff, we fear a little bit more rain. They only had 0.17 inches of rain with Kathleen. And the biggest damage, the worst damage from Kathleen, was with the wind. Winds of 40 to 50, even 60 miles an hour recorded, with some gusts over 70. And that's the biggest fear here, too, as well. We're talking about high wind warnings that have been posted, as well as the flood watches. But folks here are not going to get caught off guard like they did with Kathleen. Let me take you back to earlier today, where the word is out on Nora, no doubt about it. Here in Yuma, Arizona, folks preparing the sandbags. And as you know, or may not know, this area only gets 2 to 3 inches of rain per year annually. What if we did that all in a day to an area that does not absorb water very well? Well, you're going to have some flooding problems. As a matter of fact, when they get some heavy showers and thunderstorms off in the mountains, they all come off all that water comes off the mountains down through the washes, and the city does flood. So they're preparing for the worst here, both wind and also water. And as you can see, they're also bottling up some water, taking some rations just in case we happen to lose power or lose the power to get some water over the next several days. So the folks are taking this very serious. The good news is tonight, as we broadcast to you, we have not seen a lot of rain yet. There has been reports, however, west of here in the Imperial Valley of California, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain. There's been some minor flooding already, and already reports around El Centro of a brief tornado touchdown earlier this afternoon, Jeff.
All right, Jim Cantore reporting live from Yuma, Arizona. Thanks. We'll be updating, getting back to you with an update in about a half an hour. So try to keep as dry as you can out there. It hasn't really been raining too hard in Yuma yet, but as we'll take a look at the radar in a moment, some rain is on the way. Let's take a look at the satellite perspective. And again, maybe not quite as well organized a hurricane as we had earlier, but there's still some convection wrapping around the western and southern side of the center of circulation, or the eye, which is about right here. By the way, here is Baja California, so we are getting very close here, folks, to making a landfall with this hurricane. Maybe one, then it might get back over water here again, and then a second landfall, and then maybe back out over the open waters here or the northern Gulf of California. Jim reporting to us up here from Yuma, Arizona again, and so it has a long way to go before this hurricane moisture, the brunt of it, heads up his way, and we think that'll be during the day tomorrow into tomorrow night. Let's go to a radar quickly and show you exactly what we're talking about as far as the rain. The heaviest rain down here over Baja, northern Baja California, in the Gulf of California. Here is the U.S.-Mexican border. This is Arizona here, this is California, and then Mexico farther on down to the south here. Jim reporting to us from Yuma. Again, rather spotty light rain where he is, but a lot of this heavier shower activity is going to be heading his way overnight, and then the brunt of the heavier rain moving in during the day tomorrow into tomorrow night. In fact, the official Hurricane Center track has the center of what's left of Hurricane Nora, maybe it's a tropical storm, moving over Yuma sometime about 5 p.m. local time around Yuma tomorrow. So, of course, we'll keep you updated on that. Right now, though, let's go back to the studio and the rest of the nation's weather. Here's Warren.